Hello everyone, I guess you know if they're having a wonderful day. We are back again with another PWCC weekly review / Fanatics. A review that should happen once a week, however I did miss last week since I was out of town. This week will sort of be a 2-in-1. I'll take the top 50 from this week and last week, talk through them together. I will inform you that I've tried to record this already, however my mic wasn't working. I had to go download some drivers, tons of stuff, so I might try to be a little quicker with this. We also won't be looking up any of the card ladder data because I just can't be bothered to go through 20 to 30 more things that I already know the information behind. I'm going to take some liberties, hope you trust me here in terms of the data. But with that said, let's go ahead and hop on over. So hopping on over there, we'll go through last week's results and then move forward to this week's, starting at 216, a bit higher, of course, since we're only doing 50 items per week. We start with an Alcantara from 21 Chocolates Jamie. A PSA 4 is seemingly a pretty high grade. This is, I believe, sort of a puzzle that you're supposed to put together, and this has the main picture of Alcantara there. 37 Jules de Vaquez out of the Global Chewing Gum release. I've seen this release, I've seen this player thanks to Nils in the Vintage Discord. I'm unsure if I've seen the combination of the two, but at least it stands out in my mind. Erling Haaland Topps Chrome Base. We have a 2017 Refractor Ronaldo above it. PSA 10 for both of those. I'd be interested what you would want between the two. I'd probably go Ronaldo, but I'm just not a big base card guy at this point. Toll Harder Zubon from 28. This at least seemed to me like a low price, when we'll see some other Grayling Harder prices later in this auction. I think next week as well. Well, this week, but the next week we'll look at. 240 there. Zubon, I don't see them all too often. I mean, you'll see a player here and there, but generally it's not, all that available. 22 Bernabeu here for 240. We saw a really high grade do about 1,000 recently, so 240 for a 2 isn't too bad. 2014 SGC 10 Messi Blue Red goes for 252. This GD's a pop 1 of 1 and higher, which I think is why it gets this high. It feels a little strong just because generally Grinches would do this price and maybe a 3 or a 4, and typically Grinch is more of a multiple than that over Didi, but I'm guessing the 1 of 1 pop here kind of does that. Not that I don't think Didi deserves some love as well, but at least sort of struck me as a strong price. Of course, next year you have a Pulisic rookie, so depends what you want, but Hollow Donruss for 264, obviously he's having a pretty good start to this year, and even a good last year as well. 41 Zara here, this is the panel version. You see them both. I mean, personally, I prefer panels if possible, just because they're rarer, and if you ever want them separate, you can do that yourself if you'd like. 264 on that one. 95-96 Ronaldo. This is not a rookie, says rookie, unsure why. 83 Maga Maradona. This went for 300. I actually checked comps on this earlier, and this was up from 2021 sales. There was the same price on a PSA 5 in 2021 and the same price on a PSA 6 in 2021. So hard to find, pre-modern / vintage that's sort of generally up from there, but this doesn't pop up all that often, and personally one of my favorites in terms of 80s Maradona. Just looks so good. Relatively hard to find, not impossible, but the colors are good. Obviously, Argentine great at Barcelona has some significance as well. Above that, some odd ends here from vintage. We have a Titularis team photo, a 30s French release, and this is sort of the Grayling, or at least one of them that I was referencing earlier. This is a large Auto Harder that goes for 312 and a PSA 1.5. I checked comps on this, and there were a couple Graylings last year. Now, one of them was a small version, and I think one of them was a medium version, and they went for like $25 and $75 last year. This one goes for $312, and we'll see another one later, even higher. 2017 Mbappe Refractor goes for $324 and a PSA 9. This Mazzola, $336 on a PSA 5, along with a Plauber Alcantara from 22 and a price of $350. This 1.5 Maradona from 78 Cracks, seemingly a decent price. These at one point in time could be had for like $100, $200, depending on how low you wanted to go, but $372 on a 1.5 there. Bisfalita Pele PSA 4 goes for $372. We'll see this Zubon Pottinger and a Zubon above it. This one goes for $396, and above that we have a Herberger for $444. Bukayo Saka out of 10 Mosaic for $432, along with a Zico for $500. The Zico, in my head, I thought $500-$700 sort of the range. We see this every now and then, so which is weird considering it's a pop 5, but I feel like I've seen it a good bit. This Gutschein Pele, this was interesting to me. I probably should have looked in the Vintage Discord for more information on it, but I did not. I looked at sales comps earlier, and the only thing I could find of a relevant player was I think it was Puskás, that was in a 3 grade from SGC that sold pre-boom for $50. So that's the only comp I had to go off of. Based on that, this doesn't seem like a crazy price considering we're post-boom. This is Pele, not Puskás, and it's a similar grade. 500 didn't seem incredibly high to me. Even if there is something wrong with it, I mean, in the sense of its release, its distribution, I'm guessing it's something that's a little weird because most of the time a rare 59 Pele would do a pretty super number, and that doesn't. So at least that sort of shows me that something's off with it. Now, it does have a coupon missing. There is sort of a nameplate beneath it that is not there that I did see on the Puskás earlier. So yeah, I don't know. A lot to that. Haven't seen it before, but nice to see it go here. 500 on that. Didn't seem incredibly high because honestly, like 60s Pele stuff that's somewhat rare will do this number. So a 59. Again, unsure of the release style, but at this price, doesn't seem like a lot's baked in. The 58 team photo here, PSA 6 goes for 500. This Socrates was the highest sale ever for this sticker. Now, I think it's also the highest grade, or at least close to it, so that does also factor into it, but 504 on that one. 1930 Cliff Baston, PSA 4, pop 1 of 1 and higher for 550. We then had the Auto Harder that I was referencing earlier. This is a perforated edge, which is, kind of fancy looking, but also the medium version here. And this goes for 660, pop 1 of 2, 1 higher. So again, seemingly a super strong price to me, solely based on my experience, which is the highest price I've ever seen for a Grayling. I'm pretty sure it was the Planinka earlier this year that was like 900 or something, and that's, at least from my understanding, a seemingly rare issue. I've seen a decent amount of these Harders go, maybe not in this version, but he's also sort of a controversial figure. Prolific goal scorer, but also a part of the SS, so he sort of has, a negative connotation or negative cloud lingering around him. So seemingly a pretty good price on something like that, but maybe there's something I'm unaware of. I know there's obviously different versions of the Grayling and presumably different years even within that. Next we have a CGC4 Bernabeu for 660. This was the highest price of any of the Bernabeus to sell yet. However, it's also the highest grade. There's been a trickle of 1s, then 2s, then 3s, now 4s. There'll be another one in the next week we'll look at as well. This goes for 660. Above that, in 1902, Billy Meredith going for 840 there. Pop 1 of 1, 8 higher. An Alex James panel from 1924 and a pop 1 of 1 and higher as well for 840. Some pretty big prices there on pre-war. This 2002 Iniesta PSA 10 down to 870. These have fallen a lot. Basically, if you follow the channel, you know the story of the sticker, but at some point it was a PSA 5. Someone submitted like 20 stickers to PSA, 15 of them got 10, so now it's somewhere around a pop 20. And whenever it was a pop 5, the last sale as a pop 5 sold for $900. Once it was a pop 20, the sale after that went for close to $4K. So ever since then, it's been going back down to where it was. Personally, I think it might even go lower. We actually will find out in the next weekly it will go lower. The next one sells for $660, but they've been on a slow and steady march down, probably because they were too high to begin with, but we're finding where we're going to go there. Above that, this is actually one of the rows where in these weeklies, maybe I could see why people would buy a Lamine Yamal. Obviously, 2017 Refractor Mbappe, I get it, but to me, silvers, refractors, unless it's like a 2014 Prism Silver high grade, which is hard to get, it really doesn't stand out to me, at least towards the 1,000 and up threshold. So I think the Lamine Yamal might be the pick, which I fear to say. Above that, here we have a PSA 6 Cristiano Ronaldo sticker. Pretty OC, goes for $1,200, which is the range you'd expect on that, anywhere from maybe $1,000 to $1,400 probably. 2019 Lionel Messi Auto, PSA 8 goes for $1,200. This Endrick, don't know what to make of it. There was also a PSA 9 sale on eBay just a few days after this that went for $3,500, so eBay, at least from my experience, has much more shilling going on because those accounts aren't linked with anything. PWCC, of course it has it, but not to the same degree, so I also think that PWCC might not be the place for an out of 10 gold Endrick. I don't think it has the eyeballs that an eBay would have on a hyped item like this, but might have been a deal, at least compared to the eBay sale. Did warn about this one last week. The fake Cristiano Ronaldo sticker here in a BGS slab goes for $1,700. It's around what they usually do. 2K or so. Some of them are real, some of them are fake. If you can get a real one, you're probably getting a deal relatively. This Messi seems to be pretty wonky in the slab. I'm sure you could fix that if you want, but $1,800 on a 5 doesn't strike me as particularly high when you think about it, because most any 71 bits at this point gets near about 1,000, so a 5 under 2 isn't bad. The Aquarellas have dipped a little bit and continue to sort of, stay in that range. It used to be that, at least on the lower grades, it was about $1,000 a grade, but now this is closer to, $600-700 a grade. Kylian Mbappe Purple 10 goes for $2K. We have a Titularis PSA 4 Pele that goes for $3K. This is down a good bit. I talked about that the first go through this video, where Pele at least to me, was always the last domino to fall in sort of the market reset that we've seen in soccer. They all did it at different times. You know, some of the modern stuff was earlier in 2021, 2022, pre-modern and vintage in 2022, 2023, and then Pele and the final pieces have been sort of more towards 2023, 2024, and I think that we're seeing it sort of find its mark at this point. This during the boom was closer to 9,000, 12,000 at times, and now closer to 3K, which is pretty close to pre-boom pricing for the titulares. There weren't a lot of high grade selling them, but if you extrapolate out, that's around where it would be. All that to say, seems like a good price if you can get past the centering. I know some people can't, but not a bad price. We'll also see a 3 in the next weekly that does probably even a better deal, but there's also another one that sells high. So then we have a 2002 Mega Cracks Cristiano Ronaldo that goes for $3,200 in a BGS 7.5, and that takes us into the top of this weekly. So 2019 Topps Now Erling Haaland. I don't think we've ever seen one of these in these weeklies, but $4,000 here on this PSA 10. A pretty nice looking Erling Haaland. Obviously it's Topps Now, which is sort of a big takeaway, but back in the day, Topps Now was not a huge thing like it is now, where you have tens of thousands for a big moment. Erling Haaland, I believe this was out of close to 150, so fairly rare, and a PSA 10 grade as well, not going to be easy. These have stayed relatively stable the last couple years, which is, I guess, impressive considering Haaland stuff in general has fallen a good bit, but they are, of course, down from the 2021 pricing too, so they're not near the top, but they are still holding on fairly well. I mean, 4K for a Topps Now card, clearly not a terrible price. This Este Messane in PSA 9 goes for $4,500, which is about what you'd expect, $4,000 to $5,000 at times. Typically what you're going to want to look out for are SGC and CSG slabs. Those are the ones that have seen some fakes. However, I haven't really seen any on these auctions, so maybe those have been gobbled up by the grading companies, one would hope. You know, if you're a good grading company, that's what you do. But yeah, seems like an okay price on that one. And finally, to top the list was this green Kylian Mbappe PSA 10 that went for $6,600. Over the last year and a half, based on the sales I looked at prior, this was closer to 10 to 11K, and even all the way back in the boom, this was up to 15. So it is down a good bit and hasn't found a floor as of late. But of course, with him moving to Real Madrid now, maybe that starts to find a point to establish itself. Or, you know, if he gets lost in the mix at Real Madrid, which, you know, who knows? There's also off-field drama and all that. But all that to say, this is also a low price and hasn't really found a bottom, at least as of yet. So that was 2 weeks ago. Now we will move into this week where we look at the top 50 here. A pretty high benchmark to get into this one at $420. To start, a 1971 Saravan PSA 6 Pele, super high grade of this one. Always like the look as well. Goes for a pretty good price at $420 there. Pop one of two, not higher. We see the Burnabout, another 4 of the same one we saw in the week prior that went for $660. So this one seems like the best deal of the bunch. I keep saying that every week whenever we see new ones go, because they're higher grade and they go for the price of the ones before them. If there is another 1 or 2 left, I don't know why they actually didn't put the pop on it beneath it when they put the pop on it beneath it on all the lower grades. But for some reason on this one, they didn't state that it's one of the highest ones. I think there might be a 5 or something out there as well, so we'll see if that gets sold. But $420 on that seems like the best price of the bunch. 1909 Sam Hardy CGC5 goes for $420. We have a 2021 Kaboom PSA 8 Mbappe for $432. This Titulares Pele seems like a high price to me. I say that as someone that owns one of these. I bought a PSA 1 earlier this year for like $600, maybe a little under. So $500 for an authentic altered seems strong. The registration is kind of off. I mean, pretty heavily off, I would say. There's also a little bit missing over here. And I think that the back also has a mark. So, I mean, there's just a lot going on here. I'm pretty sure the edges are also short too. So sometimes SGC has authentic grades that don't deserve it, but at least to me, that seemed deserving. This PSA 178 Estampas Maradona for $504 seemed like a relative deal compared to some of the other ones we've seen sell, especially considering that the colors on this one were really good compared to a lot of the other Estampas you'll see. Most of them are very washed out, and this one seemingly really good. I don't know if the back's marred or something of the sort, but I mean, it doesn't look terrible. The Pele seemed relatively high. I think the Maradona seems relatively low. Above it, we have an Endrick Manga. We have a Mojo Mbappe and a 77 Zico that goes for around the same price as the Socrates that we saw last week. Above it, Kylian Mbappe Tiger Stripe here from 2022 for $630. This Pulisic Gold, I don't know what happened here. I had it sort of watch prior, and if it was going to go for super low price, I would have snagged it, but it wasn't something I was chasing. And I had the comparable price being like $300, $400, $500. I mean, somewhere in that ballpark. I didn't think 630 would be where it landed, so that seemed high, but Pulisic sort of also on a hot streak as of late, which, I'm enjoying personally, but 630 on that, pretty good price. This Iniesta goes for 660, as we talked about. These have been dropping and continue to drop, and depending on how many more get brought to auction, we could see that go even further. This Messi BGS 85 seemed like a pretty high sale. It goes for 750. We've seen these at times, if there's a lot of Messis in an auction, like there were at times, there were some huge dumps, and these could have gone as low as like 400 to 500, 750 at this point. Doesn't seem unfair when you go on eBay. There's not a lot of Messis graded at all listed below like $300, and if they are, they're beaten. This Vava 54 goes for $750 and a 1.5. I looked at comps on that one. This is about the highest price ever paid. The same one might have sold prior for $900, so it might be a little lower, but it's definitely in the ballpark of where it should have gone. Really nice looking Vava there, rookie as well. R9 on card auto goes for $800. Personally, I'm just not a fan of the post-playing career at all. I mean, I make videos alluding to it and even just straight out mentioning it, but I'm sure I will continue to make more and harp on it, how people, the collective hobby, cannot thrive if we are just chasing post-playing career autos, patches, numbered stuff of players, because it's an endless chase. You will never finish it because they will keep releasing more. And so, it's $800 for something like this when you can get a Vava true rookie or a Messi, rookie in decent grade. I don't see it, but I get it. It's an auto. People are excited, but man, I'm just not a fan. But of course, someone else's cup of tea, not mine. 20, also not my cup of tea, is claiming rookie Mbappes when they're not rookie. Panini was egregious enough to do it on the middle one here with the rookie card symbol. For some reason, Fanatics here calling this 2018 Immaculate a rookie, where it has no case of being a rookie. Nonetheless, gets the claim. They both go for $800-900. That's just the way it is. You got to claim things are rookies to try to get more money out of it, I guess. 2004 PSA 9. This actually went kind of low. I think that what we're seeing with this Mega Cracks team set is that the white card is definitely getting a discount, and I think that kind of just speaks to the grading state of this card in the sense that it grades super well. So 9 should almost be seen like 8s, 10 should almost be seen like 9s of other grades, because this is white bordered, the centering's really easy, it's just an easy 10. So I think that's sort of what's going on there. However, that still is low compared to what we've seen elsewhere. This Abril Romario is actually up from the last sale, which is surprising because this has been on a death march for a while. This used to be like 3-4K, and it went down to $750, I think was the low, and now it's up to $930. This Ronaldo went for $990. The comp that I had pulled up was a PSA 9 that went for $1250. Personally, I paid another $250 for 2 grades higher. I know the jersey match PSA grade is something, but come on. This Benzema 1 of 1 for nearly $1,100 seemed like a pretty strong sale to me, especially when we see a couple of the other 1 of 1s that will come up here. This Bremer PSA 4 Pele for $1,200 seemed fairly strong. I don't think it's one you see all too often, but I don't know. At least to me, it didn't seem like a standout Bremer, but it gets a standout price. That might be, my lack of intellect showing there, but at least seems strong to me. 58 PSA 3 Record. I can say that this seems strong. It initially seems strong, but there's a high grade that does a relatively similar price, which at least seems to me like the one you'd want to go for. Maybe there's some ability to upgrade this in grade. Someone's maybe going after it for that. That could be something as well. 2023 Refractor Lamine Yamal Gold out of 50, PSA 10 for $1,400. This Neymar for $1,380. That's sort of what I was referencing in regard to the Benzema. Even this Ronaldo as well. I think that this Ronaldo 5 out of 5, of course, gets a good price, don't get me wrong, but a really rare Topps Chrome Sapphire first-year Ronaldo. They do have variations in this set. I don't think this is the variation, but that is something of note, because then, it does add more refractors out there, and, that's going to compete with it, obviously. This Aquarella is sort of similar to what we saw in the last weekly, where it's about $600-700 a grade. A Kaboom Pulisic hanging out amongst the top echelon. You love to see it, or maybe you don't, but I mentioned before I'm not a Kaboom guy, but this brings a tear to my eye. $1,500 there for Pulisic. We have an Erling Haaland Zlatan. As much as I don't like dual autos and just autos in general, I do think that this is playing career. It's sort of like borderline for Zlatan, but I can at least see the comparison with Zlatan, Erling Haaland. Sort of fun. I get it. Out of 10, not too crazy, I guess. But dual, triple, all those types of autos are always tough because you really have to find that niche buyer. And I also don't like Zlatan's auto, and I don't like Erling Haaland's auto either. I think that they're both just terrible. So I'd much rather go for the 1 of 1 Cristiano Ronaldo here, Immaculate. This goes for $1,560. It actually comped a year and a half or so ago for a little less. I think it was like 14 something. So up a little bit, but net, the seller probably got back what they put in. So that was sort of what made me think that maybe these 1-of-1s were high. Now, of course, this is Superfractor. Superfractors are more demanded than just immaculate 1-of-1s, but I also think that this is a pretty good looking immaculate 1-of-1 as well. I like the colors. I like the Juve kit as well. Most of the time it doesn't really pop, but with this sort of scheme of a card, I like it a lot. The man bun also looks nice. And, people dog Juve kit, and I get it. Juve kit, oh, it sucks. But Juve's a huge team, and he wasn't there that long, so there's not a ton of it. So personally, I don't hate it. Probably the same that everyone else does, but to each their own. And I don't really own any Juve kit stuff, so this isn't a pump, all right? Leave me alone. 58 Titularis PSA 3, again, sort of a deal. About half the price of the PSA 4 that we saw the week prior, so seems like a decent price there, also compared to the Authentic Altered we saw earlier. Auto 2022 National Treasures Messi goes for $1,600. PSA 9 of the 2004 number 35. This is, I believe, it says Campio. You got to go in there and check. I'm not going to do it. You know what? I'm going to do it. Why not? But $1,800 seemed like a pretty strong price. These have been as low as probably $1,000 to $1,200. And PSA wasn't lying here. It is Campio, so they got that right. Good on them. But $1,800 seems like a fairly strong price, at least as of what we've seen of late, and also for an earlier graded cert, not too shabby. We have a PSA 10 purple. We saw one earlier. We see one again. Goes for about $2K. This is the reference I was making to the record earlier. PSA 8 for $1,860. I'd much rather pay another $500 and up from a 3 to an 8. Now, granted, this has a lot less border, probably less room for upgrading than this 3 does. These are hand cut from a album. Well, not an album, but a record magazine. So take that into account. Hand cut stuff always can be improved, at least to some degree. Then we have a 2019 Sapphire 5 of 5 here for Messi. This goes for $1,900. A good premium over the Ronaldo, but seemingly rightfully so. You got Barca kit, color match. All that good stuff gets nearly a $2K price tag, which at least to me doesn't seem crazy for what I see people generally pay for modern stuff. I know $2K for a soccer card's still a lot, don't get me wrong, but again, comparatively, we have the Mbappe up here, PSA 10, that goes above the Messi and Ronaldo. You think of that what you will. I'd definitely take the Messi for sure. When you're telling me that Messi's not going to have as many serial numbered items as Mbappe, and this is going to be definitely up there for Messi. Meanwhile, with Mbappe, there's a lot of stuff. Now, of course, this is early career. It's first year Sapphire if you care about that, but sort of surprising to see Mbappe top the bunch there. This Zidane had sold for a little bit higher than some recent sales. I think the lowest sale I could find for that was like $1,400, so this is up from the low sales, but it's not, dramatically up. But it's held fairly strong since the booming days. I mean, a PSA 6 90 sticker going for over $2K is still pretty good, I would say. 2017 Kylian Mbappe green goes for $2K. We saw the green 10 last week go for $6K, so, checks out in terms of multipliers. This red blue bat goes for 2.1, which, seemed at least strong, if not fair to me. There are basically, stuck versions or low-grade unstucks that go for $500 to maybe $1,000, so a 5 going for $2,100 seems pretty good. I'm pretty sure we've seen a 7 lately go for maybe $4 to $5K, so that's sort of in the range. This Maradona 79 was one of the highest sales ever. The highest sale was actually a PSA 8 during, I think, 2022 for maybe $5 to $6K. So this is right in line, which most things in vintage have dropped drastically since 2022, but this is obviously super high grade. And honestly, I was sort of wondering if this would do a good number, because if you looked at his rookie, the 7s, the 8s, like the super high grades, those get a ridiculous multiplier over the low grades. And you don't really see that carry out into, say, 1979, at least until this sale. It might not even still be the same multiplier, but at least to my mind, they weren't really close, and this one at least, seems to say that the high grade should get a good premium, as stated here. Then we have a 58 Titularis Pele. This is the vertical headshot without the star, which is the middle copy in terms of rarity. The rarest one has no star and no auto over his face. This one goes for $3K, which is about what they go for. Generally, these have been between 2 and 4 in PSA 1 grades, depending on which one it is. So the rarest one goes even higher. This isn't even the highest row of this week, but we have a $3,300 David Beckham. This was a fun one to look at the sales history for when I did earlier, because it goes all the way back to 2005, 2004. And those were going for about $300 to $400 at the time, which is a pretty significant amount. And as you can see now, $3,300. There was a sale in 2017, I think, as well, raw for $700. So a 10 now for $3,300. Definitely strong, but doesn't strike me as unreasonable. I did see that there are 2003 on-card autos, though, and I would wonder, maybe that's the real grail chase, but nonetheless, super high grade, David Beckham early stuff, really cool to see. This light blue laser, Kylian Mbappe, goes for 5,300 in a PSA 10. I thought this Pele was pretty light, and maybe, I don't know, saying a soccer sticker auto post-playing career for 6K is light might be crazy, but when you go and look at some of these silver 2014 Prism sales for other players, Pele should be up there. Of course, not going to be the pinnacle, again, since it's not playing days, but 5,800, at least to me, didn't strike me as high. I didn't think that, wow, that's an insane premium. There have been sales in the past, of course, more during the boom, but when base Pele PSA 10s have gone higher than this, so just something to think about there. And then the top three, one of these things probably not like the others, but we have the 58 Gazzetta Pele and Grinch PSA 7. Pop 1 of 1 none higher gets 6,600. Most any Pele rookie pop 1 of 1 none higher is going to get a ridiculous amount of money. This does not, because it is a vinyl record that is not intended to be cut up or anything, but people started cutting it up and sending it to PSA, and PSA grades it, and so do, I think, other grading companies. I could be wrong on that. They might not even do it. But PSA grades it. People think it's a card. I think that's the general idea, and so people pay money for it. I've seen a lot of people own these that don't really know what they own, and then sort of once they figure it out, they're like, they don't feel as good about it. Personally, it's never been one that I wanted to chase. I guess it's some monetary value. Maybe I'd buy it, but it makes sense why this doesn't get a crazy price, although it still gets a really good price, don't get me wrong. Especially when you consider the borders are super thick. You could probably cut that up even more, maybe even get a higher grade, I don't know. But yeah, would I rather have this PSA 7 or the record PSA 8 earlier? And what was the record PSA 8? That went for 1,800? Yeah, give me the record PSA 8 for 1,800 over this PSA 7 every single day of the week. I know this is pop 1 of 1 and higher, but there are tons of these out there. They will get graded, and there will be more. It's just the way it is. So then we have a cool one next to it with the 2016 Soul of the Game Ronaldo out of 5, Emerald, flawless. This, to me, and I own some Soul of the Game, but not like an amount to where I'd be ridiculously biased. I own other flawless, but I love this set. It's one to me that in flawless, it definitely stands out. It's very unique, and it speaks to the essence of soccer. Obviously, Soul of the Game has a pretty clear meaning here, but cool patch from a game-worn boot. You also have the auto fully on card. 8.5, 10 grade, pretty good. I've seen a lot of these autos go off card or maybe even just not be great autos. 8.5 grade, also not bad for a thick card. So 8,400 here, at least to me, seemed like, not a low price, but also probably a decent price if you're the buyer. When I look back at comps earlier, there were out of 15s, out of 25s, out of 10s that were, 5 to 6K, so a little bit less, but for an out of 5, 8,400, especially graded the way it is with the auto grade, doesn't seem bad at all. And then topping the list here was this Messi 71 bis BGS 9. So, this one probably would have been a good one to have the graph up for, but basically the last one sold for 10K, this one sold for 17.4. It's very similar to the last PSA 9 that sold in the sense of, is this going to stick? I don't know. The last PSA 9 went from like 30 to 50. I don't think we've seen that tested since. This BGS 9, I would imagine we're more prone to get a BGS 9 to test the market, so we'll see. I guess maybe the subgrades on this make some sort of difference. This looked like it was 99995. Okay, so, I guess the subgrades are good. Maybe that's why it gets such a premium. Maybe if this is 99985 instead of 95, it doesn't get that premium. I'm unsure, but at least to me, it sort of struck me as a good price, or at least a high price relative to what we see elsewhere, and we'll be interested to see if that sticks going forward. But this week and the last week were both really good weeks. I'm glad I got back for this one because this had a lot of heavy hitters. Really fun week overall. Sadly for me, wasn't able to take home anything, at least of this value, so it is what it is. We'll take a quick peek at next week and see what we got. So a 1 of 1 Lamine Yamal starting off the week, so always going to be a big hitter. We have the Sindelar, which at least as far as I understand is sort of a rarer version in the sense that the back has some numbers on it here in this sort of barcode area. We have a Pele 4 Aquarella along with a Pele 3 Tupanamba, a nice Cruyff Palarex along with a PSA 6 Sicker Verlog, which is super high grade on that one, pop 1 of 9, 9 higher. A Freed 1925 Dolar, that'll be a fun one there, along with Messi Gold. Down here we have a 62 Pele that you don't see all too often, pretty high grade there with the Santos flag. The Pele OMB on the left, I'm pretty sure, is a rerun there. Treble Vinny. Beneath that, we also have this Rivellino. Gold Messi, Kaboom Messi, bunch of good stuff down here, but looking forward to it, and hopefully you are too. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today, so hopefully you enjoyed it again. If you did, make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly. Let me know your thoughts down below. Anything you thought sold high or low, maybe something you snagged. Would love to hear about it down below. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.